So a lot of you guys are probably wondering why I have this Beretta. I've already had quite a few people asking me, and don't mind about that. I burnt myself welding. It rolled down my helmet and my arm, and I was like, yeah, now I look like I have a jewel on my head. Anyways, you're probably wondering why I have this stupid car. And I don't know, maybe you guys, maybe there's some big Beretta fans out there that I don't know about. But if any of you guys remember these cars, you remember how cool they were in the 90s and early 2000s, I guess, if you're my age. So I'm 38 right now. I was born in 86 and I graduated in 04. So when I was younger, I didn't really think that I was ever gonna be in a position to have Corvettes and race cars and stuff, to be completely honest. I didn't have a lot growing up. I didn't have a terrible life, but I didn't have a lot. So at the time, like, I always wanted Camaros and stuff, but I couldn't afford them. So I was like, I'm gonna get this like Beretta. It's like a fake Camaro, but it's front wheel drive and it's way slower. But anyways, like, I ended up with a 91 GTZ. I grew up in Onaway, Michigan, and my dad drove me down to Toledo, Ohio. We picked this red GTZ up that I found in an Auto Trader, because back then we didn't have the internet and all this cool stuff to find stuff. So I ended up getting a red 91 GTZ, because red was always my color, obviously. And I just absolutely loved the thing. And I just thought it was the coolest car ever. And just had subs and amps and always tinkering on it. And I mean, I was really good at anything back then. But it taught me a lot of stuff. I ended up like building an engine for it because I blew it up. I mean, I probably didn't do a good job, but it ran. Swapped a couple transmissions in. So it was really, for me, like, the Chevy Berettas were the car that taught me everything I know today, really. So if it wasn't for a Beretta, like, none of this would be here. Like, we wouldn't be here, this shop wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be on YouTube right now talking about these stupid cars. So to summarize that, like, it's always just been a car that meant a lot to me, even though it really isn't anything spectacular to anyone else. It's really not that great of a car. It's not a piece of junk. They're kind of cool. They're neat and different. It's just kind of like, you know, I was in Hondas for a while and I thought they were cool, but the same thing. They're kind of a piece of junk, but they're cool and they have their spot. But for me, Berettas, like I said, was just, it's where I really became. Like, that's where I became. Like, if it wasn't for those cars, I would have probably pursued music more instead of, you know, ended up with a 20-year car addiction that led me to where I am today. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'll put a couple pictures in here of, like, I got a couple of my dugout, some photo albums not that long ago, and I'll post them in here so you can see some from like 04 and 05. But anyways, back then I seen a blue one this guy had. I forget where I even went, but it wasn't in my hometown or anything. And this guy had a blue one with like a 5-spoke set of wheels that was gunmetal. And as soon as I seen the car, I was like, man, I'm not a blue fan, but that car just looks so cool. And ever since then, I've really, really wanted a blue, like 92-ish closed grille GTZ. And for years I looked, I never really found one. I kind of wanted a quad 4 because I thought they'd be cool and sporty and fun to race around in and drive around. But then, like, after a while, I just kind of gave up on it. And then I went back to the next thing and went back to the next thing. Well, finally in 2019, I found another red one, and I was looking for a blue one, and I found a red one that looked pretty good. It was pretty beat up. It was pretty crusty underneath, but it was a decent looking car. It drove all right. And I bought it, and I was just like, man, it's just not a blue one. So I ended up getting rid of that, I don't know, shortly after. I drove it probably for a few months, and ended up getting rid of it, and just kind of, you know, every 2 months I'll get into a kick where I'll start searching for another blue one. And finally this one popped up. And I've been on eBay since, like, I don't even remember, 2003, 2002 maybe. I found this car on eBay. Finally, after all these years, eBay. After all these years, I finally found one. It's far from perfect. It's got some clear coat peeling, some stuff wrong with it, plenty of stone chips, but it's really not in that bad a shape. I mean, it's a good looking car. The paint's far from perfect. It's got a lot of bumps and bruises, but it's a 92. I mean, this thing's, was it 34 years old, 32 years old? That's an old car. But the interior is actually pretty clean. I hate that the interior is blue. I hate blue interior, but here we are. But, like, the interior is in nice shape. It's really not bad at all. So this one ended up being a 3.1 V6, which is not a big deal because honestly, it's probably better that it's an auto, just because I just really want to cruise town with it and bump the subs and sub now and cruise around town and just have something that's not my Z06 that I don't want to drive in the rain and stuff like that, and not have to always drive the work truck and things of that nature. But anyways, now that I told that whole long story, I had like 12 of these, and I just loved them back in the day, and they made me a better mechanic, and they made me smarter. They taught me how to diagnose and what's wrong with it and this and that. So I do honestly owe a lot to these cars, because if it wasn't for them, I really wouldn't be here today. And there's no telling where I would be. But so when I got it in my mind, when I seen this car for sale, I was like, I don't really care what it costs at this point. I'm going to win it. And there were some people online that were like, shoot, you paid that much for that car, blah, blah, blah. So it had it was supposed to be a locked up motor. The motor was supposed to be seized up and not running. When I got it home and cleaned it up a little bit, I looked under the hood, and it has some sort of reman motor. It's got stamps on the heads, and it's like spray painted and stuff. So it looks clean. Valve cover gaskets are all fresh-ish. So I'm like, I don't know if this is, it might be. A lot of times reman motors are worse than the factory stuff, but I rolled it over by hand, and I'm like, it's not locked up. So Andrew sprayed some ether in it, and it fired up and ran really good. The motor sounded extremely good, which I was kind of excited about. I was relieved, but then I was kind of bummed because I already bought a 3800 supercharged for it. My friend Mike that owns Golden Electric, he had a really clean 3800 Series 2 supercharged that he had in a Fiero, and I don't know, he ended up parting it out or whatever it may be. So I already tuned on it a little bit, so I got a harness and PCM and a bunch of stuff to put it in the car, which at this point I already bought it, so I'm going to. One of my friends from ZZP reached out, and I ended up getting a set of headers and stuff from them on order. Pulley and rocker arms and a few little things. I'm like, this is not what I wanted to do with this car. I just wanted to cruise, and I didn't want to make it fast and put a bunch of money into it. Just wanted a really awesome stereo system car, and that's it. So anyways, I have it. I'm probably going to put it in because this is how I am. But the reason I bought the car is because it makes me feel like young again. And it's one of those things where, like, it's a really cheap car, and it makes me excited to even look at it. It makes me excited to get in it and smell it, because it still smells like other ones and like feels like them. So it's just a fun thing, because like I got all this neat stuff, and all this stuff's racing so expensive these days, and this pile just brings me a bunch of joy. So back to it. When I seen it on eBay, I was like, I don't care what it costs. I'm just gonna buy it to an extent. I don't care what it costs. I'm gonna buy it. I had it in my mind. I'm gonna make it. So then I thought to myself, man, I used to have some L5s and L7 kickers, and I thought they were the coolest thing because they were square when they came out. And so what did I do? I found a 18-inch Solo X, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So before I even got the car, before I even won the car, I bought the speaker, because I was like, well, I've only seen 2 of these for sale in a long time, and that one was March of 2005, so it's early 05. Had to have it. Always wanted a Solo X. Used to look in Crutchfield magazines and be like, holy shit, $1,000 for an 18-inch. I can't afford that. That's crazy. I only drive a $2,000 car. So I seen it, and I bought it because I needed it in this car. So then I built an enclosure that's 9.9 cubic feet. Somewhat per my skill set, it's set at like 35 hertz. And then, so then I got to searching for a Kicker 2500.1 mono amp. These things, I think the berth sheet on this was 2880 at 2 ohms. So it'll put out some jam. So it's super sweet. It was somebody painted it purple. I didn't do that, but I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll buy it. So I got a fair deal on that. I think I ended up paying $1,300 for the sub, and the other one was $2,000, and then $1,350. The guy had it for $2,000. I'm like, come on, man, work with me here. This is crazy. They want $2,000 for these, but it worked out. And I think the amp was $650, which those are actually an awesome amp. They're super hard to find. So I snagged that, and then I started looking around Facebook Marketplace. I bought a Kenwood 4-channel amp for the components. I put in some really nice 6.5-inch kickers with a tweeter and a crossover. I mounted them right in the door because I did in my old car too, swinging this thing around. So yeah, I mounted the Mid-range is there, cross over there, and then the tweeter's up by the mount for the mirror. Did some 6 1/4, 6 1/2 regular 2-way kickers back here in the back seat and put them in the same spot I did my old car, and then wrapped it in some like crushed velvet because that was badass back in the day. The ceiling, the headliner was drooping, so of course, like back in the day, we put some crushed velvet stuff that's a little shaggy, a little furry on there. So when the bass hits, you can watch it kind of dance. And then put some 4x6s in the kick panels, which I always thought it was so awesome. These cars had kick panel speakers. So then it's like you didn't have to get crafty. You just got them right there. But then, the main thing is the Pioneer DEH 7600 MP. I found that brand new in the box. It was in August of 2004. So I found that on eBay as well. And of course, that's pretty much what I would have had in this car when I would have bought this car back in the day. Maybe even not a 7 Series, maybe like a 6. But brand new. Look at that. Box is minty even. So, because I got a couple other ones. Like I got some higher end models that I'm going to put one of them in my red truck. That one's like an 86 or an 8500 MP. I can't remember. It was a pretty nice one. But I got a couple old ones that I found new in the box. And it's just like, man, just for old time's sakes, I'm going to buy those and just have them. So it's pretty cool. But I don't know. I can't play any songs, because they'll copyright it and all that stuff. So once I get it, oh yeah, fuel pump. So yeah, the fuel pump wasn't working in the car, obviously, and the inside of the tank was just rusty and gross. So I cleaned that out, ordered a fuel pump from the store, from the parts store here, and it was the wrong one. So I ended up finding just a sending unit on eBay, which probably is better anyways, because then I can put whatever pump I want, and I'll probably put like a 340 or something for that other engine. But I don't know, just really stoked about it. So I've already had a ton of people asking me why I bought this. Like, that's dumb, why did you buy it? And it's just, like I said, it's one of those things. I thought they were super cool back in the day. I still think they're kind of a neat little dumb car, but I haven't had anything since a Suburban with a really loud stereo in it, which was like 3 years ago now. And I really want to drive around town and be obnoxious like I was when I was 16, 17, and 18. So, yeah. But anyways, just want to put together a little clip and kind of a reason why, because that's kind of how I am. I'm really weird about nostalgic stuff. I'm really cling to the past. So I just want to share that little story with you guys. I'll post some video updates of this thing here soon. Hoping the other fuel pump comes for the weekend. It's Wednesday. Hopefully it comes for the weekend. I'll get it running. I'll drive around town with a dealer plate on it bumping. That'll be funny. Excuse me. Ugh. But yeah, have a good night. We'll see you guys later.